Welcome back to Empower Your Soul with Medium Nicole. I'm here with a spirit-led podcast that they will not leave me alone about, talking about purity in readings as an intuitive. And this is going to be a little funny because some of my best readings have been when I'm absolutely sloshed. But with clients, I really take a purity approach, and I do not use drugs. I do not drink before. I try to not to drink 24 hours before my sessions. And I feel like a lot of this came up during my training in the Akashic Records, because if you read Linda Howe's amazing book on the Akashic Records, and I love her stuff. She's the one I learned my Akashic Records through her book. It's a great book. But she's the one who's identified that it's a very strict approach to spirit with her, especially with the Akashic Records, because she says that you cannot drink 24 hours before you access the Akashic Records. They will not let you in, she says, if you drink 24 hours before the Akashic Records. And I've always tried to take that purity approach in my work, especially with my clients, which is probably to my detriment, but I want to make sure that I am a clean slate as possible so that the information can come through to me as easy as possible so that I can interpret and give the information back as best possible to my clients, right? I want to be a clear vessel to get clear information so you can receive the clear messages from your loved ones or spirit guides. And spirit is laughing at me in my head right now because it's not true. Because this is like my ego trying to be responsible and trying to control the situation as best I can to produce the most predictable outcome, which can be really frustrating as a professional, right? Because all of you who do this full time or do this part time, every reading is different. Every reading has different energies. Sometimes it's a cakewalk and it's like a home run, and other times it's like sludging through mud and the information doesn't come in clear or it doesn't come in at all. And there's no reason why, because even as predictable as you have tried to be in setting yourself up for success of the sessions, it still doesn't have the same outcome. So let's talk about ways that mediums set themselves up for sessions, or intuitives set themselves up for sessions, because I think it's different for everybody. And it's certainly changed a lot in my journey as a professional. But I can tell you that at the beginning, I did all the things. I would not drink. So I've never really drinking before sessions for the most part. So that's going to be true for all of this. Same with drugs. Never done drugs. Yeah, I admitted it. That's probably no surprise to most of you out there. I'm pretty fucking high strung. But in the beginning of my journey, I would say a prayer before every single reading. I would ground and center and clear myself before every single reading. I would, after every single reading, tap in with my guides. How's it going? What did I do different? I would write down everything from every session all the time in an attempt. And that's actually a really good practice. I got to get back into that. But I would essentially do the same things over and over again before the readings to make me feel like I was ready to receive spirit in the best way possible. And I think there's purpose in that, and I certainly wouldn't change that at all. But it's almost like that slugger in Major League Baseball that comes up and puts his gloves on, slaps the thing, what I'm talking about. They do like 16 things before they step into the batter's box to try to hit the ball. And it's almost like OCD at that point. So as you are on your journey, you may find that you want to drop a couple things because it doesn't make sense anymore. And I think that's part of the journey too, is dropping one or two things. Yeah, it still works. Dropping another thing. Yeah, it still works. And then you get to my point where you've been asked to go to a bachelorette party and you must be, 10 Trulies deep or whatever. I think we were doing shots that night too. I'm not afraid to admit it. I was pissed. I was so drunk. And I was reading dead people the whole time. And I was calling out names and I was off the hook amazing that night. It's people still talk about how spot on those messages were. because I had so much alcohol in my system that my ego was nowhere to be found. That brain totally gone. It was out the window at that point. So when you take the human out of it, when you take the human brain and the human ego out of it, all that's left is just a wide open closet for spirit to work, right? Wide open. And they can come through like ghosts of Christmas past and just like give you all the dirt and tell you everything that's happening. And I loved that. And honestly, I've been really toying with the idea of drunk mediumship. Not that I like to get drunk all the time, but because it is a whole different level of experience. However, I personally struggle with, is that ethical? Is that being a good representative for spirit and holding this work sacred? Because in my human brain, the answer for that is no. And I don't think I'm going to come to a conclusion in this episode today, but these are the inner workings of Nicole. I'm going to talk about myself in third person now, of Nicole, because I struggle with it, because I have always been taught, and way back, you millennials, by the way, I'm an elder millennial in every sense of the word, but you millennials of the dare age, you know what I'm talking about. Like they brainwashed us against like drugs and alcohol when we were in elementary school, right? Like I was terrified to do any drugs. That's still true to this day. So I don't know why I still hold on to that today, right? I think it's just because it's worked for me historically. It's worked in my career, being professional, being 100% there, being totally mentally present and conscious. I guess that's it's not the best use of the word, but I'm going to go with it. You know what I mean? Has always worked for me in my career every single time. In fact, like it's been a benefit to me, especially when I worked in the corporate environment, and in particular, the corporate sales environment. Those who know, because they sent me to Bermuda once with a whole bunch of financial services TPAs, and I was there to represent the company. And you know what? People were doing shots all over the place. Like people were out till like 2 a.m. Another one of those, they asked me if I wanted to drive to the casino 2 hours away at 11 o'clock at night. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like it is a corporate culture, and no one really dings you for it in the corporate culture. But I'll tell you what, as a woman, I did not feel safe drinking that much alcohol around that many men. I'm just going to put it out there. That's probably a past life thing for me. So like it has done so well for me in my career, because it has gotten me to these amazing opportunities to go to Bermuda, to go travel with sales partners, right? And like be like one of the boys. And I say that and I cringe, sorry. Be one of the boys and be given these corporate opportunities because I can keep up with the men, but at the same time, like still playing it safe and still keeping my head on me so that I show up the next day still as my best self when everybody else is hungover, and people kind of recognizing that. And that's always served me well. Pun intended. So I just want to toss it out there that I think this is a remnant from me about how being a clean slate has always benefited me for my corporate career, and still I think in my spiritual career, because I really enjoy at least controlling my aspect of the energy, and then I know it's not me, and then I know what I could potentially work on, because I already know what I'm the control, right? I'm the control. So when something goes awry, I know it's not me, but I need to figure something out or work around something that's a little wonky energetically. So I will probably continue to be a little bit of a purist in terms of my work. I don't mind other professionals that choose not to be purist. I know one of my dear friends smokes pot all the time during her readings. And you know what? She's fucking fantastic. And that works for her. And I'm okay with her doing that. And that's what gives her her cleanest mental state. And kudos to you, more strength to you. So I don't want this to come across as judgy by any means, because I don't judge anyone else. You do you do what works for you. I'll do what works for me. We're both going to be our best selves in the end, right? But I'd love to get reactions on this for people. Like, I would love it if anyone wants to weigh in and tell me, are you feeling like you work better in a pure state? Do you do a little, something to keep to keep your brain out of it so that you're a clearer vessel for spirit, I'm genuinely interested. But as I channel the information from spirit, I'm going to ask spirit's perspective is they don't really care as long as you show up and you are doing your best to serve the spirit world with integrity and show up for your clients in the best way possible. If you need to medicate a little bit to hold your own traumas in while you do the work, do that. If you are fine without the medication and you can show up as your best self without it, do that. It really doesn't matter to them because spirit will come through you regardless of what mental state or intoxicated state you are. As we've seen, sometimes the more intoxicated, the better. There we go. There is my quick little podcast episode for today. No resolution for this one, but boy, was it fun to talk about. And that's all I have for today. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.